Good afternoon. Welcome to the tea table. I am so happy you've joined me today. I am sitting on my deck, drinking in summer. I had planned to go to a special place for a picnic today and do a picnic tea talk, but it was so hot and it was so nice and cool here. I thought I just have to stay right here. I can't venture out. We'll go out for maybe early autumn picnic together. Well, I think I'll remove my sunglasses and I will, if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please pause, get your tea, and I will be waiting for you. It's pretty bright and glaring here today, isn't it? Well, I've chosen yellow today, and you know, our summer took so long in coming this year. I have talked to so many people that feel the same way. We're almost to the end of August, and generally I'll feel just a little change in the air and I get excited for autumn and back to school. I'm not there yet. I want to fully enjoy every warm summer day that's left, and I've been wearing purposefully all my bright colors, all my summer clothes, because I know that once autumn comes, we'll be into our tweeds and plaids and woolens, and that's a wonderful season. But yellow reminds me of the sunshine, and so I'm wearing yellow, and I have some really fun jewelry on that kind of is sparkly and kind of has yellows and pinks, kind of a mix of yellows and pinks. And so when I decided to choose the teapot for today, I thought I've got to go with yellow. But I also found this wonderful tea cozy, and it has been keeping my fabulous pot of Queen Victoria tea from Murchie's. That is what we are serving today. And I think I'll put that over there. Okay. And let me show you, whoops. I think we'll put this over here. Tea cozies really do work, and especially in the winter. If you're in a house that has a tendency to be a little chilly or have a draft, that tea cozy will keep the teapot, this is so hot I can barely touch it, for up to an hour. So let me see if I can pick this tray up. It's quite large today, and show you how I've presented it for you. Okay, it has the yellow chintz, creamer and sugar, and the pot, and a friend just gave me these napkins, and they have the pink and green and touch of yellow on the tip. Very nice. And this is the sugar bowl is so pretty. I love the chintz china. And this is bulk tea, that is loose leaf tea. Here's my cup and saucer. It's yellow with the pink, and it's called Edwardian Collection, England, and it has this, and it almost matches this pot. This is an old pot though, and this is a new cup, but so you can see me pour out. I'm going to put it up here, and I'm going to use, this is a tea strainer. This is a brass reproduction Victorian tea strainer. And I'm going to pour out because there may be some little bit of tea leaves, right? Now this pot has sat for quite a while, so I don't really see any leaves, even though it was the bulk. And I'm going to take the creamer now. I'm going to pour a little cream in. Okay. You know, we're just friends. It's just us, right? So can I tell you what happened today? This is sitting crooked now. My. I had our dessert sitting in this right here. And I went to move the table and it flew off, and the dessert flew, but it miraculously retained itself. And this is your lovely dessert, coconut cream lemon pie. And it's a piece, and I put it on a very nice piece of French white with gold trimmed china. And I always use sterling silver when I'm serving a nice dessert. We all have pieces of silver plate or sterling silver that we need to use them. And so this is a good opportunity when you're serving a nice dessert. And I'm going to hold this so you can kind of see this. It's very lovely. Anyway, it survived the fall, but it looks to me like my little silver pedestal is now crooked. I don't know if it can be bent back. We will see. Ay, ay, ay. So, I think I'll just move the tea tray over. And let's take a taste of our tea. Oh my goodness. This is fabulous. This tastes like the old tea they used to serve at when the Empress Hotel, before any of its remodels. I was there in the 1970s, and they had what they called Empress Blend. This tastes almost exactly like it. It's a very brisk, broad, strong, black British tea, and it's called Queen Victoria from Murchie's. And you know, hard to get up to Canada now, very hard, but with all the restrictions, but you can order it online, and they're very efficient. And Murchie's tea has been there for over 100 years. It's a wonderful tea shop. When you walk in, the lady is behind the counter, and all the tea is in the brass boxes. I don't know if you've ever been to a tea. They pull them out, they measure them out, they weigh them, and it's authentic. And you can get small, if you go in person, well, even online, they're very helpful. And we used to get small amounts of testing out what we thought. And their tea is great. It's the real thing. It's authentic. Don't you love yellow? Found a little white flower to go on my tea table today, and a little silver, just one little white flower. And then this tray is so nice and big, it had room. I put this little Italian, it's an Italian candelabra. These are carved flowers, and I thought the green candle looked nice. I could have put yellow, but I thought the green looked nice. I'm not lighting it because we're outside today, but it's fun on a tea if you have a nice big tray to put a flower, I think, put a candle, have your teapot, creamer and sugar. And because I don't use sugar, I used my sugar bowl for my little, I don't know what they call this, but it's a tea strainer. I think it's called a tea strainer. That's what it is. And then I had this, and I have a napkin. And we have everything we need for afternoon tea. Mmm, delicious. And this is a yellow, kind of an old-fashioned tin, a watering can actually, but it's yellow and it has the red flowers painted on it. So I have some lilies in it. You see them. So the lilies look nice in it. But I think it looks nice up here, so I'm going to just let it sit up there. Well, how is your week going? I am trying to relax and enjoy summer, and we went to a little gathering last weekend with faculty and friends from the seminary, saying goodbye to a beloved mentor, Joe, Dr. Schultz, who is one of the Tea Talk people, and I had always wanted to interview him, and maybe we still will through a Zoom. But he is a faithful Tea Talk listener, he and his wife, and they're friends. And Joe is my mentor and worked at the seminary for many years. He was the registrar and my doctoral advisor, and I really want to give a tribute to Joe today and thank him. He's the kindest, most merciful, good, like every minister should be. And I tell you, he was a Lutheran pastor for years, and then he took the position as registrar at the seminary. And you know, a registrar at a seminary is an extremely important person at any institution of learning, at any college. The registrar is the one who makes the decision on your credits when you transfer credits in, or he evaluates your transcript, it's called, and then he decides if you can graduate. That's an important person. And he was not only the registrar, he was my advisor, my doctoral advisor. And I don't know how many times I thanked God for Joe, for a kind person. We're on a first name basis because he's a good friend of my husband's, but he is Dr. Schultz. But do you know how difficult it is to complete a degree under a person who is extremely anal and difficult and critical and negative? Because I have many friends who have been in that situation. And when Joe became my advisor, I said, thank you, God. I need a lot of mercy. I don't know about you, but I need a lot of mercy. I thrive when I'm around merciful, kind people. And I completed my dissertation, and it was over 212 pages. And I had only encouragement from him. And because of that, I accomplished that. I could not have done it without having a positive, encouraging person in my life in that situation. And it made me think again of the power we have to influence. We talked about that last week. We have power to influence other people. Cut them slack. Give them generous room to be who they are. If they're grumpy, maybe they're having a bad day. But it reminds me of a Bible verse I love. It's from Romans 12. And you've all heard it because it's part of our cultural saying, but it comes from Romans, the words of Paul, the apostle. Don't be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Oh, I love that verse. And I think that fits into when you're given a lemon, try with all your might to make lemonade. And I've been talking to so many people this week who have had interesting situations that they thought were difficult and they weren't what they wanted, but they ended up being better than they thought. You know, we've all had this when my daughter was recently looking for a house, and they live in Wisconsin, and they found a house they wanted and wanted, but it didn't work out. It wouldn't work out. Well, that's a delay and a disappointment. But then the next week, here they kind of gave up. They thought maybe they weren't going to move, they'll just stay where they are. Then they got a call on the phone. Here comes a house. This is unbelievable. I think the same amount of money or maybe less. And it had twice the square footage which she needs for having little children. And had a fenced yard, had a fenced deck, move-in ready. They've done so many projects on the place they were selling and lived in, they didn't need another project. This is move-in ready. And I said, oh my goodness, there it is again. A delay often ends up being the blessing. And you know what? It teaches us patience. And patience is hard. It's hard to learn. We're an instant one-liner, soundbite, push the button, get it now generation. If our phones don't move fast enough, we get frustrated. And you think about even 25 years ago. Well, before email, I guess 30 years ago, you had to get a stamp in an envelope and write a letter, and it took a lot of time. There's still great value in that. However, how blessed are we that we can just pick up a phone and give a message instantly to someone. We get used to it. Human beings get used to things, and then this is our pattern. We don't have it, we want it. Then we get it. Then we use it. Then we take it for granted. And if it doesn't work, we go, what's wrong? You know, summer is a time to stop all of that for a little bit and sit down and have tea or have a cold drink, have a popsicle. I actually have enjoyed having a few popsicles this week. I haven't had one forever. I thought this is what they're for when the weather is so hot. So hot. You need a popsicle. It's the perfect solution. And I remember as a little girl, really little girl, that, you know, the refrigerators that we had, they had a little freezer in them. They didn't have big freezers. So you couldn't have, we did have popsicles, but you couldn't get a lot of stuff in them like you can now, you know. And that's another thing we just take for granted. And my freezer is huge, but, you know, we always think, oh, I could use one that's just even a little bigger. But I think the lesson is pause for a minute, evaluate, look around, and thank God for all the wonderful things we have. Yes. Well, I brought one of my favorite little purses, and I only use this in summer. You know, the thing about summer, I don't ever dispose of my summer clothing or shoes or purses, because for us in Washington State, it's a short 3 months, and it usually doesn't come till the end of June, and then we have a wonderful Indian summer, but after Labor Day, you're not feeling like the summer clothes. You want to get into the fall wardrobe. So summer and summer clothes, I find they never go out of style. You know, it's just kind of the same as every year. So this little purse, isn't this the cutest purse? And it reminds me, it has a chain so you can hang it around your neck. It's a little box purse. It's enough room for a cell phone, a pair of glasses, sunglasses, lipstick, little wallet. And I just think these colors have become my favorite summer colors. The yellow, the turquoise, and the hot pink. And all those colors mixed together are kind of what are on this dress, actually, underneath here. And I got a yellow shawl. But we feel like these bright colors. They're the colors of the jungle. They're the colors of Africa. They're the colors of Hawaii. They're the colors of islands where there's hot weather and beautiful yellow fruit and turquoise water and pink flowers and parrots. And, you know, so I love color. And I determined, I said, every day I'm going to wear something bright for summer, because when our summer finally came, and it has come in great heat, wonderful heat, I'm grateful, because I tell you, I've never seen a rainy May or rainy June like that one. I mean, it did not stop. And so we have to really celebrate, right? And then I have another little bag that's kind of like a beach bag. It could be a purse too, but it's a beach bag. And take it to the beach, or to put a book in there, I have my sunglasses in here. And I just love, I have a little, I'll show you what I have in here. This is really fun. Now, it may seem silly to some, but I like everything summer, and then I change out to winter. This is a little kind of holder for, makeup and things like that in my purse. But it's just got a zip, holds everything, and it just looks to me, it's got an elephant, looks to me like summer. It's got pink, white. They're the colors again. There they are. Turquoise, I didn't realize, yellow, pink, and white. That's why I like it. And I have this little coin purse that's sweet, kind of summer coin purse. And I know some people don't want to change their wallet out, but I like to. I like to think I'm in a whole new season. And then this is my kind of fun summer wallet. I found this upstairs, and I had this for a long time, hadn't used it for years, and I thought, I'm going to use it. I am into using what I have and enjoying it, because sometimes we have things just sitting there. Why not use them? Let them move into their position of honor in our lives. I think I'm going to have a little more tea. Isn't this pot just beautiful? I think that is so beautiful. I have always loved chintz. Chintz is this pattern that is all, it will have a foundation color, like this is yellow, and then it's all flowers. And I think it's kind of a take on the Victorian wallpaper. Used to be like this flowered wallpaper. Once they could make wallpaper, and they had artists painting, and they knew how to reproduce, well, the artists went just wild and just tremendous. Oh my goodness, this is so good, this tea. Creativity just went over the top. That's what happened. I love the Victorian era. I like the design. I like the creativity and the color, and I love the architecture, and I like the interior design of Victorian, because it's classic, and it's very home, it's very family, it's very individualized, it's very inclusive. And people were finally getting to a point, where not everyone had electricity, but some were getting to the point of having electricity. And then, Prince Albert was really a brilliant scientific mind and such a beautiful heart. He wanted to help everyone. And he went underground in London to try to get a sewer system, so people could have, in their home bathrooms. They didn't have them in their home. You can imagine how horrible that would be. And some people believe that there was so much disease down underground because the methods were so poor that he was trying to improve. Some people believe he got a touch of a typhoid or a fever, and that's why he actually died. He died in helping his fellow man. And you know, he had come from Germany. He was actually a third cousin or fourth cousin of Queen Victoria. And when she met him, she fell in true love with him. And he fell in true love with her. And you know, they are an example of people. They did not have perfect parents. If you watch the movie Victoria, and then there's one made in the early 2000s. I love that one. And then there's another series. It shows her mother was difficult, and there were people in the throne that wanted to control her and wanted to take over. And he found out when he was an adult that the man he thought was his uncle was really his father. And there had been so much, and he didn't have a mother really. Really sad childhoods. Both of them had really sad childhoods. They could have had any excuse to be victims, but they weren't. They took all the suffering they had gone through and turned it into compassion and love for others. And then they found each other and loved each other. And he was such a great helper. When he first came with the heavy German accent, you can imagine the British weren't necessarily accepting. You know, in the royal houses of Europe, they had to marry a royal. And so often, for example, the Tsarina, the last Tsarina of Russia, you know, Alexandra, and she was married to Nicholas, the Tsar. She was a Bavarian German princess, beautiful. And when she came to Russia, she was actually Queen Victoria's granddaughter. But the Russians never really accepted having a German, even though she went from being, I believe she was Catholic, and she converted to Russian Orthodox, went through all of it, was baptized Russian Orthodox, learned to speak Russian. There's always this resentment for the people that came in. They wanted their own. So they didn't have it easy. Life in the palace was not always easy. But Nicholas and Alexandra, they had true love also. You read their letters and their story. They were really deeply dedicated to God, the monarchy, and each other, and to Mother Russia. That was a tragedy, real tragedy. But before that happened, Queen Victoria had passed away before that whole Russian Revolution. That's 1917. And I think Queen Victoria lives to about 1902. So she's back in the true, well, her Victorian era, you know. She's from about 1840s to the turn of the century. And so she and Prince Albert lived through a time of great industrialization. And he was for that. He was for trains. They didn't have trains when they first married. He was part of the brains behind getting the train in England and having public transportation. Before that time, you had to have money and have a carriage ride, and most people didn't. It was foot traffic, really. So most people never ventured beyond a few miles of where they were born. Well, also Prince Albert, the photography had been discovered, and that's why Queen Victoria, so many photographs were taken. And he also, and I think I've told this before, he was behind really the first World's Fair of modern time, called the Great Exhibition. And you've heard of the Crystal Palace in England. Well, that was a marvelous building he envisioned, and people didn't think it could be built, of glass, all glass, like a huge arboretum conservatory. And inside of that, they had invited people from all over the world to come with their latest discoveries and their art and their pottery, their creative designs from each country, and their inventions. You know, lace workers, silk workers, and inventions in science. That was Prince Albert. And that building stood for a long time, and it was called the Crystal Palace. And the great Spurgeon, the great preacher, he was like the Billy Graham of England, he preached there, and it was famous for that. And then at some point, sadly, it burned down. But you can look that up, that great World's Fair, and it really launched Albert, because the people began in England to think, this young man, he cares about us and he wants to make England great too. And he's not a snob, he's not looking down on us. And they started accepting him. And to this day, there are statues in London of Prince Albert. And one of my favorite places to visit, when I lived in London for a year, I went there many times, was the Victorian Albert Museum. And if you go to London, don't miss that museum. There is one floor dedicated to the history of music. And there are instruments, there, like Isaac Watts, there's his first hymn book. There are the hymns, there are instruments, it's just an incredible collection. And then there are rooms, period rooms, of what the palace was like in their time. Beautiful, beautiful. I remember one room was all this bright pink, and the pink tapestry furniture with the gold trim, and oh my goodness, I love that museum. In my time, when I lived in London, all the museums were free. It isn't that way now. I used to go to the London Gallery at Trafalgar Square often on my lunch hour. I worked right down on Buckingham Gate at a historical library right across from the palace, and a dear friend, Mr. McKinsey, we used to go, and he would take an elderly gentleman. He was determined to show me London, and we would go over to St. James Park, and then we'd walk down to the Abbey, and then there's all these little churches, obscure churches he would take me to, and what a blessing he was. Another person that had great influence. He would never have thought of himself as having great influence, but he did. He changed my life. I wouldn't have ever been able to have learned about London without him. So what do you have in your hand? What, like the little boy with the loaves and fishes that came to Jesus? I only have a few loaves and a few fishes, but Jesus took it and fed the multitude. So my question today is, what do you have to give others? Take time with your tea, ponder it, think about it, and then I say, go forth and give. Give as much as you can to everyone in every way, in everything. Thank you so much for joining me today. The sun is here again. Have a fabulous last week of August. Go have a picnic and enjoy yourself outdoors. Go explore. Well, thank you again, and I will look forward to seeing you. Oh boy, I forgot. Please, if you haven't yet, go to my channel and Susan Shoemaker Tea Talks. Subscribe, push the notification bell and the like button, and you'll be notified, and share it with a friend. And Shoemaker is just like it sounds. Soemaker. Okay, have a great week and God bless.